I thought we were still new marriage life in our second year of marriage. It's only been 2 years since we vowed to be together forever.
I'm pregnant.
She said it so nonchalantly, it sent shivers down my spine. Her baby father is my boss.
I want to enjoy our new marriage life for a bit longer before we have kids.
Those words kept swirling in my head. My name is John Smith, and I turned 30 this year. I'm married to my wife, Emily, 2 years ago. We met at work. We worked in different departments, but same company. Every time we passed each other in the hallway or elevator of our company building, I thought she was incredibly beautiful. When I was introduced to her through coworker, I was so happy I wanted to pump my fist in triumph. I had been looking for a chance to talk to Emily and made sure not to waste this opportunity. I watched every movie she recommended and read every book she suggested. Gradually, my efforts to close the distance between us started to pay off. Back then, it seemed like Emily had a boyfriend, but I never asked deep into that topic. It was my way of saying it didn't matter. Looking back, I'm impressed with my own tenacious efforts. Now, Emily has quit her job by choice and is a home wife. I'm glad to have someone take care of the home. Emily lives a comfortable life, attending cooking classes and floral arrangement workshops, and having lunch with friends. 2 years into our marriage, my parents asked me about they want grandkids. An unbelievable incident occurred. After a busy season of overtime days, I was thrilled to leave work on time. Thinking Emily must have been lonely with all my business, I bought her favorite cake on my way home. I planned a short trip for the upcoming long weekend. I picked up some travel brochures from a travel agency near the station for local attractions. I even ordered takeout so Emily wouldn't have to prepare dinner. I'm home. I managed to get back early today. As I spoke to her while taking off my shoes in the entryway, Emily came running from down the hallway. She seemed surprised to see me home early. While explaining that I had ordered takeout, I handed her favorite cake. But something was off about Emily. Emily, is something wrong? As I handed over the suit jacket to Emily, I asked her a question, and Emily nodded slightly in response. She has a rather solemn expression on her face. As I took a seat on the living room sofa, Emily sat down in front of me. Then, she uttered the unbelievable words,
I'm pregnant, so I want us to separate.
It was like being struck in the back of the head with a blunt object. I never imagined such words would come out of Emily's mouth. Emily and I did not have any children. It was Emily who convinced me it was too soon for us to have kids, even though I wanted them right after we got married. She said she wanted us to enjoy our new marriage life for a while, and I thought I should respect her feelings, so I promised I'd be patient for her. We were careful for 2 years. So what's this new life growing inside her now?
Let's get a divorce. It's for the sake of the child.
I never wanted to hear for the sake of the child from Emily, especially not in this situation. I thought it was a phrase we'd use happily together as a couple. Emily looked at me with her face expressionless, but it seemed her mind was made up about the divorce.
Please sign this. For the sake of my child, let's get a divorce.
Emily spread a document in front of me. It was a divorce paper, already signed by Emily. In the witness section, her parents' signatures were there. So, she had already discussed it with her parents. I wanted to demand to know who the baby father is, but I couldn't lose my composure here. I have my pride too. You're serious about this? When I asked, Emily nodded firmly. After that, I just remember focusing on not letting my hand shake as I held the pen. After I signed the divorce paper, she carefully folded it as if it were something precious. She seemed to have packed already, grabbing a large suitcase and heading to the door. I couldn't think of anything to say to Emily as she was about to leave. She never looked back at me. I could tell from her expression that she had no feelings left for me. In the twilight, she walked away, pulling her carry-on bag. All I could do was watch Emily walking away. That night, I drank alone and fell asleep. I caught a cold because I passed out drunk in the living room. I got a headache and chills different from a hangover. I called my workplace early to let them know. I told them I'd take the day off due to I'm not feeling well. Reflecting on last night, I wondered if it was all just a dream. However, on the living room table, there was the liquor bottle and that pen. It wasn't a dream. Emily really betrayed me and left. Facing this reality again, my heart ached deeply. And I truly realized the saying, love can quickly turn to hate. I can't believe how much I've grown to hate Emily, whom I once loved so dearly. I need to find out who the baby father is. With that thought, I spent the day going through the belongings Emily left behind. The ring and bracelet I gave her when we were dating were still in the jewelry box. I found the wedding ring in the trash can. How Emily felt when she threw it away like that. The mere thought made me feel dizzy. I spent the entire day looking for clues about her baby father, but all I got was my fever getting more higher. Feeling like I might begin lose my mind if I don't keep busy, so I tirelessly rummaged through her things. Given my situation, there was no way I could have bounced back in just one day. In the end, I wound up taking a whole week off from work. When I finally felt well enough to return, for some reason, my coworkers already knew about my divorce. I hadn't even told General Affairs yet.
Feeling better, Smith? Getting sick over a mere divorce? Man, you're soft.
My direct boss, whom we'll call Andrew Turner, came over to my side and started to smirk. Turner always nitpicking to me about the stupidest things. I never did take to his slightly arrogant looks, and the way he carries himself always feels so theatrical, just rubs me the wrong way. Just as I'm thinking how unlucky I am to have him as a boss, I notice he mentions divorce. Come to think of it, I suddenly remember that Turner and Emily used to work in the same department before we got married.
Wait a minute, didn't Emily tell you when you guys were getting a divorce? Or were you too prideful to ask?
Turner said mockingly, and suddenly, all the pieces clicked into place. Are you Emily's baby father, Turner? I asked in a hushed tone. He jokingly responded, Yep, that's right. He was clearly making a fool out of me. For a moment, I didn't even realize what I had done. The next thing I knew, Turner was sprawled backward over the desk and chair. My clenched fist throbbed with pain. Chaos ensued, as though a big party had erupted. Some tried to help Turner, while others tried to hold me back. All the while, Turner, who I had just punched, was just keep laughing. He laughing at the predicament, knowing I'm in trouble. He had set me up. Turner is the grandson of the founder of this company. I had just punched a top executive. Naturally, I was suspended, and soon after, I got fired. I became an unemployed man, dumped by my wife. My life spiraled out of control. To make a living, I need to start job hunting. I know it in my head, but I just can't seem to follow through with action. I start drinking in the afternoon and then continue deep into the night. Is this what they mean by hitting rock bottom? I had no motivation to do anything. The one silver lining was that I had some savings. I want to pat my past self on the back for saving diligently. About a month into this rut, an unexpected visitor showed up at my doorstep. At first, I pretended I wasn't home, but 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. I ignored it again, but an hour later, it rang once more. Annoyed, I opened the door to find a woman I didn't recognize. She stood tall, staring intently at me. I felt judged and quickly looked away. "Excuse me, who are you?" The woman staring at me has a dignified presence and a face that looks full of determination. Suddenly, I felt embarrassed about reeking of booze from me. I hadn't even shaved.
Are you the ex-husband of that woman?
I was taken aback by her blunt opening. She didn't beat around the bush. She was Turner's wife. That woman she referred to was probably Emily. Before I could mumble an answer, the woman deeply bowed her head. She introduced herself as Lorraine Turner. Just as I imagined, she is Turner's wife. My neighbor ladies passed by, sneaking glances at us. I can't deal with these gossip-loving folks. "Well, please, come on in." I quickly invited Lorraine inside, worrying about the rumors that might spread. She replied with a polite, "Excuse me," and entered without hesitation. Of course, I hadn't cleaned up at all. As I led her through my messy living room, she silently began picking up trash. I can clean that up myself."
In this state, you can't have a proper conversation. If you can't help, just sit.
She shut me down, so I sat down on the couch. I watched in shock as she tidied up one thing after another.
Why don't you go wash your face?
Startled by her suggestion, I retreated to the bathroom. I quickly washed my face. Seeing my reflection after such a long time startled me. I washed my face and shaved my beard. I also washed and styled my hair. I finally felt a bit human again. When I returned to the living room, the cleaning was done. Trash bags full of garbage were lined up in the hallway.
I made use of kitchen.
Saying so, she offered me a cup of tea. Lorraine seemed quite reliable for being Turner's wife. "Thanks, I feel a bit more human now." To my surprise, I sincerely thanked her. A slight smile appeared on Lorraine's face upon hearing my words. But the very next moment, her smile faded.
My husband wants a divorce. He said it's because he's having a child.
She went straight to the point. She probably doesn't like tedious story. I've been told the same by my wife. We're already divorced. When I said it's none of my business anymore, she let out a big sigh. It seems like Andrew's cheating isn't a recent thing. The previous affair scandal was settled with money, and it seems that the other party was the Emily before too. After receiving the settlement, Emily quickly married me. Lorraine said she was told that Emily married me as proof that her relationship with Andrew was over. This time, it seems Emily wasn't going to settle for money. From the tone of Lorraine's voice, I thought she still loved Andrew. She probably wants to eliminate Emily from the picture. Let me get this straight. Do you want to get back with Andrew after all this? Twice he cheated with the same woman, and now they even have a child. Would she still cling to such a man? Asked about the possibility of not divorcing, Lorraine looked somewhat surprised. Her expression was as if the idea of divorce hadn't even crossed her mind. You think you can start over from this? I admit, it was a bit of a mean way to put it, but her demeanor and reactions piqued my interest. I wanted to know how Lorraine would respond. She chuckled lightly and said, "Well, we are married after all." For some reason, I felt engulfed by a sense of defeat. In the end, I decided to send Lorraine home that day and agreed to talk things over again later. The day after Lorraine visited, now Andrew showed up. He had apparently heard from Lorraine that she had visited me yesterday. Since he was a former boss, I reluctantly let him into the living room. Andrew then looked around the living room and laughed. Is something funny?
This, Lorraine tidied up, didn't she?
Andrew said with a laugh that seemed to find the whole situation amusing. I hadn't noticed, but apparently, the way things were tidied up had her signature all over it. It irked me how they seemed to exude this understanding, married couple vibe. When I asked him what he wanted, Andrew said he had a favor to ask of me. He wanted me to convince Lorraine to divorce him, which caught me completely off guard. According to Andrew, Lorraine couldn't have children. He liked kids and there was the issue of an heir. It was a stroke of luck that Emily got pregnant. He said if I could persuade Lorraine to agree to a divorce, he'd reward me and placed a thick envelope in front of me. His attitude of trying to solve everything with money made me nauseous.
I want kids, you know. It's not possible with Lorraine.
I reached my limit at Andrew's words. I grabbed him by the collar, but he was still smiling. Maybe he thought he wouldn't get hit twice. Just as I was about to swing my fist, a soft hand gently enveloped my raised fist.
Is he even worth hitting, my husband?
Lorraine said she had followed Andrew.
The front door was wide open. That's careless.
As I lowered my raised fist, I replied, yes. Using momentum, I let go of the collar I had been holding.
You want a child, don't you?
Lorraine looked up at Andrew and muttered. As Andrew nodded, she took out a document from her bag. It was a green paper, a divorce form.
Does this make you happy?
Lorraine held out the divorce form to Andrew and smiled. Her smile was so hauntingly beautiful. It seemed like a smile that could forgive everything or send someone straight to hell. I saw Andrew's fingers gently stroke the back of Lorraine's hand as he took the divorce form. Feeling like I had seen something I shouldn't have, I quickly looked away.
Thank you.
Andrew left after saying that and quickly walked towards the front door.
Now we're enemies, Andrew. Be prepared.
Andrew waved without looking back at her words. Seemed like he acknowledged her declaration of war. Watching Andrew leave, Lorraine turned to look at me.
So shall we lick our wands? But first, let's get our revenge.
Lorraine and I separately demanded compensation from Andrew and Emily. They're loaded. They'd probably pay no matter how much we ask. I told the lawyer I want everything processed at the same time. The reason I did it simultaneously was to make them as uncomfortable as possible. This kind of revenge might be seen as just a game. After demanding compensation, Emily finally came crying. Andrew seems willing to pay his share of the compensation, but not the part Emily is being asked for. They aren't married yet, so it's to be expected, but there seem to be other issues. At a meeting with the four of us, Andrew started saying that Emily cheating was partly my fault too. Claimed it was the result of making her feel lonely by always being at work.
You sure have a way with words, but it won't work on me.
What Lorraine took out was a report on Andrew's background investigation. Apparently, it was commissioned by Andrew's parents. Emily and Andrew had a relationship even before I got married. Emily once received a breakup fee and distanced herself, but they continued their relationship in secret. Seems she married me as a camouflage suggested by Andrew. I love my job and can be a bit oblivious at times. For the two of them, having an oblivious husband was convenient. Plus, since I work with Andrew, they could keep an eye on me. The report Andrew's parents paid for was incredibly detailed. Lorraine read out the contents calmly. The faces of Andrew and Emily gradually turned pale. Emily was the first to crack. Crying, she started lashing out, "Stop it, please."
If you keep up this ruckus, it won't be good for the baby, you know?
Emily shuddered at Lorraine's cold reprimand. Gazed upon by Lorraine's icy stare, Emily eventually fainted right there. Andrew hurriedly held Emily, to which Lorraine smirked.
Giving up already? What a pity.
I think Lorraine genuinely loved Andrew. Love and hate are two sides of the same coin. The depth of love matches the depth of hatred. Andrew seemed to understand that too. In the end, I didn't get a chance to say much, and Lorraine dominated the entire discussion. At last, Lorraine said to me, "That's a wrap," with a smile. Afterwards, the reason of my divorce became everyone knows at work. I was the one who had leaked it to a colleague. The company wanted to sweep it under the rug, but it was already too late. In the end, Andrew was pushed into a dead-end job and lost his place both at work and within the family. Emily, who remarried, is struggling with her mother-in-law. Andrew's parents, who were fond of Lorraine, have been harsh on Emily, who took Lorraine's place after they drove her out. I think it's what they deserve. When all the issues, like the alimony, were settled, I asked Lorraine to go out for tea. She told me that she was living alone and working at a friend's company.
Since I can't have kids, I've got to be independent.
Lorraine, speaking with such earnest sincerity, showed no hint of the terror from that time. You know, that's not quite the right reason to be independent. I disagree with what Lorraine said. She looked at me in surprise. It was the first time I had ever been so assertive. I noticed that she still wore her wedding ring. It was proof she hadn't forgotten about Andrew. Gathering all my courage, I decided to share with her the words I had been rehearsing since last night. I don't mind that at all. She looked at me, her face a picture of confusion. I took a deep breath. And then, I asked her to wait until I got a job because I wanted to be Lorraine's boyfriend. Lorraine and I will definitely work out. We've been through the same hardships after all. I'd never hurt you. From the look on my face, she could tell I was dead serious. She lowered her gaze for a moment, then chuckled lightly.
You know, I can be a handful sometimes.
I'm well aware of that. I gently traced the back of her hand with my finger. She squinted as if recalling a memory. With a gentle motion, she brushed my finger aside and slowly took off her ring. I felt like it was her way of saying goodbye to her past. Then, her fingers softly touched the back of my hand. Her slender fingers gently caressed the back of my hand. I felt her love flowing into me from the tips of her fingers. I promise to make you happy. Just wait and see. Lorraine broke into a radiant smile. I swore in my heart to always protect that smile.